Good evening and welcome to Third Church of Christ Scientist of New York City. Let's begin with singing hymn number 189. I'll read the second verse. God keepeth me from falling, fulfilleth all my need. His love doth e'er uphold me in faithful word and deed. He keepeth me from evil, my onward way doth trace. My going and my coming he crowneth with his grace. Number 189. I'll read from the Bible and from Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures by Mary Baker Eddy. The subject of this evening's readings is Safe Travel. The Bible. Psalms. Whither shall I go from thy spirit, or whither shall I flee from thy presence? If I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there shall thy hand lead me, and thy right hand shall hold me. Let integrity and uprightness preserve me, for I wait on thee. Genesis. Israel loved Joseph more than all his children because he was the son of his old age. And he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him, and could not speak peaceably unto him. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright, and behold, your sheaves stood round about, and made obeisance to my sheaf. And his brethren said to him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us, Or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us?" And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, "Behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me." And his brethren went to feed their father's flock in Shechem. And Israel said unto Joseph, "Do not thy brethren feed the flock in Shechem? Come, and I will send thee unto them." And he said to him, "Here am I." And he said to him, "Go, I pray thee, see whether it be well with thy brethren and well with the flocks, and bring me word again." So he sent him out of the vale of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. And a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, saying, "What seekest thou?" And he said, "I seek my brethren. Tell me, I pray thee, where they feed their flocks." And the man said, "They are departed hence, for I heard them say, 'Let us go to Dothan.'" And Joseph went after his brethren and found them in Dothan. And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him. And they said one to another, "Behold, this dreamer cometh. Come now, therefore, and let us slay him, and cast him into some pit. And we will say, Some evil beast hath devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams." And Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands, and said, "Let us not kill him." And Reuben said unto them, "Shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands, to deliver him to his father again." And it came to pass, when Joseph was come unto his brethren, that they stripped Joseph out of his coat of many colors that was on him. And they took him and cast him into a pit. And the pit was empty, there was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead with their camels, bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt. And Judah said unto his brethren, "What profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come, and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh." And his brethren were content. Then there passed by Midianites, merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver, and they brought Joseph into Egypt. And Reuben returned unto the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit, and he rent his clothes. And he returned unto his brethren and said, "The child is not, and I, whither shall I go?" And they took Joseph's coat and killed a kid of the goats and dipped the coat in the blood. And they sent the coat of many colors, and they brought it to their father and said, "This have we found. Know now whether it be thy son's coat or no." And he knew it, and said, "It is my son's coat. An evil beast hath devoured him. Joseph is without doubt rent in pieces." And Jacob rent his clothes and put sackcloth upon his loins, and mourned for his son many days. And the Midianites sold him into Egypt unto Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh's and captain of the guard. And Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down thither. And the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him. And he made him overseer over his house, and all that he had he put into his hand. And it came to pass from that time that he had made him overseer in his house and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he knew not aught he had, save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a goodly person and well favored. And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, Lie with me. But he refused, and said unto his master's wife, Behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in the house, and he hath committed all that he hath to my hand. There is none greater in this house than I, neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? And it came to pass, as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her, to lie by her or to be with her. And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there within. And she caught him by the garment, saying, Lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. And it came to pass, when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and was fled forth, that she called unto the men of her house, and spake unto them, saying, See, he hath brought in an Hebrew unto us to mock us. He came in unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice. And it came to pass, when he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me, and fled, and got him out. And she laid up his garment by her until his Lord came home. And she spake unto him according to these words, saying, The Hebrew servant which thou hast brought unto us came in unto me to mock me. And it came to pass, as I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled out. And it came to pass, when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spake unto him, saying, After this manner did thy servant to me, that his wrath was kindled. And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound. And he was there in the prison. But the Lord was with Joseph, and showed him mercy, and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison, and whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. The keeper of the prison looked not to do anything that was under his hand, because the Lord was with him, and that which he did, the Lord made it to prosper. And it came to pass, after the end of 2 full years, that Pharaoh dreamed. And it came to pass in the morning that his spirit was troubled. And he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt and all the wise men thereof. And Pharaoh told them his dream, but there was none that could interpret them unto Pharaoh. Then spake the chief butler unto Pharaoh, saying, We dreamed a dream in one night, I and he. We dreamed each man according to the interpretation of his dream. And there was there with us a young man, an Hebrew, servant to the captain of the guard. And we told him, and he interpreted to us our dreams. To each man, according to his dream, he did interpret. And it came to pass, as he interpreted to us, so it was. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon. And he shaved himself, and changed his raiment, and came in unto Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of thee that thou canst understand a dream to interpret it. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, It is not in me. God shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, In my dream, behold, I stood upon the bank of the river, and behold, there came up out of the river 7 kine, fat-fleshed and well-favored, and they fed in a meadow. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them, poor and very ill-favored and lean-fleshed, such as I never saw in all the land of Egypt for badness. And the lean and the ill-favored kine did eat up the first 7 fat kine. And when they had eaten them up, it could not be known that they had eaten them, but they were still ill-favored as at the beginning. So I awoke. And I saw in my dream, and behold, 7 ears came up in one stalk, full and good. And behold, 7 ears, withered, thin, and blasted with the east wind, sprung up after them. And the thin ears devoured the 7 good ears. And I told this unto the magicians, but there was none that could declare it to me. And Joseph said unto Pharaoh, the dream of Pharaoh is one. God hath showed Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good kine are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream is one. And the 7 thin and ill-favored kine that came up after them are 7 years, and the 7 empty ears blasted with the east wind shall be 7 years of famine. This is the thing which I have spoken unto Pharaoh. What God is about to do, he showeth unto Pharaoh. Behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt, and there shall arise after them 7 years of famine, and all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and the famine shall consume the land. And the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason of that famine following, for it shall be very grievous. Now, therefore, let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land, and take up the 5th part of the land of Egypt in the 7 plenteous years. And let them gather all the food of those good years that come, and lay up corn under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities. And that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land perish not through the famine. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, can we find such a one as this, a man in whom the Spirit of God is? And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, forasmuch as God hath showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. Thou shalt be over my house, and according to thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than thou. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, see, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand, and put it upon Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in vestures of fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck. And he made him ruler over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I am Pharaoh, and without thee shall no man lift up his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. And when all the land of Egypt was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread. And Pharaoh said unto all the Egyptians, go unto Joseph. What he saith to you, do. And the famine was over all the face of the earth. And Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold unto the Egyptians. And the famine waxed sore in the land of Egypt. And all countries came into Egypt to Joseph for to buy corn, because that the famine was so sore in all lands. And Joseph said unto his brethren, I am Joseph. Doth my father yet live? And his brethren could not answer him, for they were troubled at his presence. And Joseph said unto his brethren, "Come near to me, I pray you." And they came near. And he said, "I am Joseph your brother, whom ye sold into Egypt. Now therefore be not grieved, nor angry with yourselves that ye sold me hither, for God did send me before you to preserve life. So now it was not you that sent me hither, but God. And he hath made me a father to Pharaoh, and lord of all his house, and a ruler throughout all the land of Egypt. Haste ye, and go up to my father, and say unto him, Thus saith thy son Joseph, God hath made me lord of all Egypt. Come down unto me, tarry not. He kissed all his brethren, and wept upon them. And after that his brethren talked with him. And the fame thereof was heard in Pharaoh's house, saying, Joseph's brethren are come. And it pleased Pharaoh well, and his servants. So he sent his brethren away, and they departed. And he said unto them, See that ye fall not out by the way. And they went up out of Egypt, and came into the land of Canaan, unto Jacob their father, and told him, saying, Joseph is yet alive, and he is governor over all the land of Egypt. And Jacob's heart fainted, for he believed them not. And they told him all the words of Joseph which he had said unto them. And when he saw the wagons which Joseph had sent to carry him, the spirit of Jacob their father revived. And Israel said, It is enough. Joseph, my son, is yet alive. I will go and see him before I die. And Joseph made ready his chariot and went up to meet Israel, his father, to Goshen, and presented himself unto him. And he fell on his neck and wept on his neck a good while. And Israel said unto Joseph, Now let me die, since I have seen thy face, because thou art yet alive. And Joseph said unto his brethren and unto his father's house, I will go up and show Pharaoh, and say unto him, My brethren and my father's house, which were in the land of Canaan, are come unto me. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh, and went out from before Pharaoh. And Joseph placed his father and his brethren, and gave them a possession in the land of Egypt, in the best of the land, in the land of Ramses, as Pharaoh had commanded. And Joseph nourished his father and his brethren, and all his father's household. And Israel dwelt in the land of Egypt, in the country of Goshen. And they had possessions therein, and grew, and multiplied exceedingly. Psalms. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. I'll now read correlative passages from the Christian Science textbook, Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures, by Mary Baker Eddy. Joseph, a corporeal mortal, a higher sense of truth, rebuking mortal belief or error, and showing the immortality and supremacy of truth. Pure affection, blessing its enemies. The footsteps of thought rising above material standpoints are slow and portend a long night to the traveler. But the angels of his presence, the spiritual intuitions that tell us when the night is far spent, the day is at hand, are our guardians in the gloom. Whoever opens the way in Christian Science is a pilgrim and stranger, marking out the path for generations yet unborn. The nature of Christianity is peaceful and blessed, but in order to enter into the kingdom, the anchor of hope must be cast beyond the veil of matter into the Shekinah into which Jesus has passed before us. And this advance beyond matter must come through the joys and triumphs of the righteous, as well as through their sorrows and afflictions. Like our Master, we must depart from material sense into the spiritual sense of being. The God-inspired walk calmly on, though it be with bleeding footprints, and in the hereafter they will reap what they now sow. The pampered hypocrite may have a flowery pathway here, but he cannot forever break the golden rule and escape the penalty due. Spiritual ideas unfold as we advance. Whoever would demonstrate the healing of Christian Science must abide strictly by its rules, heed every statement, and advance from the rudiments laid down. There is nothing difficult nor toilsome in this task when the way is pointed out, but self-denial, sincerity, Christianity, and persistence alone win the prize, as they usually do in every department of life. The wrong done another reacts most heavily against one's self. I'll read that again. The wrong done another reacts most heavily against one's self. Right adjusts the balance sooner or later. Think it easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for you to benefit yourself by injuring others. Man's moral mercury, rising or falling, registers his healing ability and fitness to teach. You should practice well what you know, and you will then advance in proportion to your honesty and fidelity, qualities which ensure success in this science. But it requires a higher understanding to teach this subject properly and correctly than it does to heal the most difficult case. Progress takes off human shackles. The finite must yield to the infinite. Advancing to a higher plane of action, thought rises from the material sense to the spiritual, from the scholastic to the inspirational, and from the mortal to the immortal. Let's pray together in silence for a few moments, and then pray aloud together the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Let's sing hymn number 203. 203. I'll read the second verse. Help us to know that all is well, e'en though we wander through earth's shade, to know that all thy children dwell within love's stronghold, unafraid. Teach us to follow fearlessly the way our gentle Master trod. 'Twill lead us safely home to thee, O loving, Father, Mother, God. Number 203. This church is a branch of the Mother Church, the First Church of Christ Scientist in Boston, Massachusetts. We hold Sunday services at 11 a.m. and Wednesday testimony meetings at 7:30 p.m. We also have services in Spanish, Sundays at 12 noon and Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. All services are held in person and online, and all are welcome. Third Church offers Sunday school classes, in person and online, for children and teens. These free one-hour classes are available each Sunday. At Sunday school, students learn how much God loves them and cares for them. They also learn about the Bible characters and lessons and the healing power of prayer. For more information on times and classes, please send us an email, thirdchurch@thirdchurchnyc.com. Replays are available on our website in English and Spanish of many inspirational talks. Please visit thirdchurchnyc.com. Would you like to join the Mother Church? You would be uniting with its worldwide membership in its mission to embrace the world in the healing love of Christ through the teachings of Christian Science. Membership applications for the next admission are due to the clerk of the Mother Church by November 5th, 2025. Membership applications and information can be found at christianscience.com/membership. Find the way to health, stability, and peace of mind. Third Church of Christ Scientists, New York City, and other Christian Science churches in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut invite you to a series of weekly inspirational radio talks in Spanish that will air in October and November on Saturdays at 9 a.m. on WADO 1280 AM radio and on Sundays at 7 a.m. on WPAT 93.1 FM. Replays will continue on WADO 1280 AM radio from Sunday, November 29th to January 17th of 2026. The Spanish language series, titled The Road to Christian Healing, will address topics such as the way of spiritual progress, a view of life that brings healing, a renewed life, and discover your innate health, among others. The experienced, internationally based speakers are members of the Christian Science Board of Lectureship. Replays of each talk will be available at thirdchurchnyc.com until January 31st, 2026. Join us starting on Saturday, October 4th at 9 a.m. on WADO 1280 AM radio and Sunday, October 5th at 7 a.m. on WPAT 93.1 FM. The talks in Spanish will also live stream on thirdchurchnyc.com at the same hour. Join us beginning on Saturday, October 4th and Sunday, October 5th for Una visión de la vida que trae curación, a view of life that brings healing by Monica Pasalia. This meeting is now open for all to share experiences of healing and spiritual insights that prove God's ever-presence and power in their lives. If you're listening by telephone and would like to speak, press *6 and wait until your line is unmuted. Please speak directly into the microphone of your phone. Your message will be easier to hear if you do not use the speaker function. And to avoid feedback, please have only one device on at a time. If you're watching via Zoom, you can choose the raise your hand icon or unmute yourself and speak.
Thank you for the readings from the desk. I know that the travel of which your reading spoke was a spiritual journey, from material to the spiritual, and the growth of metaphysically, as well as the travels of Joseph. I mean, he had quite a trip through life, and his journey was a spiritual one, from being very low into human sense, from being a slave to being the ruler of all the world as far as taking care of Egypt. I'm preparing for a trip soon, and I was very grateful that the various things that I had been working on professionally were sort of winding down. Issues were being resolved, and the level of activity was getting slower, which was good in anticipation of getting away. Suddenly, that changed, and many things needed to be handled simultaneously, and there was a multiplication of activity. Earlier this week, Monday or Tuesday, I guess both days, the sense of all that needed to be done was threatening to becoming overwhelming. And the phrase that came to me was that there's no inaction, overaction, or reaction. And I applied that to the situation by thinking that don't react, don't overact, no problem with underacting, but take it step by step. And the Tuesday was really remarkable. There was that which I thought was going to crowd the day all of a sudden became less crowded. And I was able to do many things that were waiting to be done, and it was a very harmonious, if long, day. And this evening I looked up where that passage was. It's from Science and Health, and the full quote is, "Thought will awaken from its own material declaration, I am dead, to catch this trumpet word of truth. There is no death, no inaction, diseased action, overaction, nor reaction." And that provision might be intended for something else, but the truth of it was very helpful to me, and I was very grateful for that. We all know that the omnis for God, the defining God is the omnipotent, the omniscient, the omnipresent. Those are well used, and we see them often in the lesson. One that's seen less frequently, or is used less frequently, in the definition of good, there's all action, omni-action, that God is omni-action. And, if we're reflections of God, then we reflect or express in some less infinite way the activity of good. And that was uplifting thought and not dwelling in a sense of limitation. And I was very grateful for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, and this is UN week, so your readings were very timely. A lot of people have been traveling to this city this week and going to leave, so very timely. I remember when my two children were young, and I would send them to camp out in Colorado and have to put them on a plane. And I was concerned about doing that. And I spoke to my teacher, and he said something I've never forgotten. He said, "Nobody ever really goes anywhere." Nobody ever really goes anywhere. This is just dream stuff we're talking about here, consciousness. And then I saw Mrs. Eddy's talking about that. She says, reaffirms that, where she says in prose works, coming and going belong to mortal consciousness. And the context of that is she's talking about Jesus, where people thought he went and came and all that. Basically, he never left. He was always abiding above. He was always in his spiritual realm. And so we always exist in that spiritual realm of thought. And my teacher also said at the time I was talking about terrorists, and he made a remarkable statement to me I've never forgotten. You have to love the terrorist. And I realized that's right, because the terrorist has no defense against love. And he can't touch you if you refuse to see a terrorist. In villain, you can't be in villain and victim. The wonderful article by Paul Stark-Seeley, neither villain nor victim. My teacher also mentioned that it's a pair event. You can't have one without the other. So if we refuse to see a villain, we can never be a victim. And if we love the terrorist, my knee-jerk reaction is always to try to work for my own protection. But it's, as my teacher said also, it's no more true about the villain than it is about the victim. And so we have to, in a situation like that, we have to refuse to see, we have to focus on the villain and see it's no more true about him than about me, and therefore you can never be a victim if you refuse to see a villain. So I'm so grateful for all, Christian Science gives us all this wonderful spiritual thinking. And we're all on a journey right now from sense to soul. And that's this wonderful thing that we have in Christian Science. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me here this evening. Your readings on safe travels was lovely. I'm here from California, so thank you for that divine protection coming in and out of your lovely city. I've grown up as a Christian Scientist and just so grateful for all of the beautiful revelations that we have in our daily life. I've been reading the chapter on physiology, which I wasn't that excited to do. It wasn't something it just came to me, I needed to do it, and I'm reading it a second time around. I'm one of the primary caregivers of my father right now, one of my best friends, and we seem to have had a lot of repeated hospital visits, which is a wonderful thing to get your thoughts straight when you're in those material situations. She talks about, in physiology, how you have a decision to make between the sense information versus the corporal and the corporal identity versus knowing that you're part of mind and mind's idea. And she's very clear on that in all the healings, that we have to be so specific about it. Often as a Christian Science, I get asked, well, why don't you just do both? Why don't you get the doctor treatment and pray? And physiology chapter is an amazing chapter that makes it clear that we need to throw all of our weight into God, and that there's only one way through that divine mind that we see who we are in our divine identity. And that's the pure way and the only way, and that's our only identity. This has been incredibly helpful for me as I have been bombarded with a lot of physical and contraptions and things regarding my father, who is a lovely man who attends Christian Science services, and we're so grateful for that, but is not a formal Christian Scientist, to know this truth for him while I still need to follow his wishes on the human level. It has been a radical focus in my thought that he is a divine idea, I am a divine idea, and all I'm doing is just continuing to care for that divine idea as we move forward in eternity. All I am doing is caring for a divine idea as we move forward in eternity. I highly recommend that anyone revisit the chapter of physiology. We're so fortunate that we have our lessons printed out for us, but I found that there is nothing like going right to the books. There's a truth that beams out from it, that overwhelms you. I get chills when I think about it. That's very different than reading something that's been printed. We must go to the books directly. There's something there that just imbues you with the truth of God, and you're touched by it, and you're just, you start to ascend to a different level, knowing that truth, you're reading it and imbibing it directly. I'm so grateful for Christian Science, for keeping my thoughts straight on God. I'm so grateful for Christian Science. I pray for our church. I know that divine science is revolutionizing people's mindsets all over the world, whether they realize it or not. It is a gift. It is a precious treasure. It is something that revolutionizes your mind and how we think and how we need to think about our life being eternal. In one final closing statement, I'll just say, we often talk, or we hear talk in regular Christian churches about heaven and hell and where we go next. But one of the things that God is so clear about in the Bible is he says, I knew you before you were born. We don't talk about that so much, even as quote unquote regular Christians, but that's the truth that lets us know that God has eternal life for us. It's not that we live here and go on to heaven or hell. That's not what happens. God knew us before we were humanly born. That eternity existed before. We're that divine idea. We seem to come here for a brief time on earth, and then we go on as that divine idea. That's one of the most precious ideas from the Bible and Christian Science that I just hold so dear. We're not starting out on human earth and going to heaven and hell. We're not. We are starting out as a divine idea, having a human experience for a time, and going on to, again, eternal life. We always have been divine ideas. We have always been divine ideas. And I thank Christian Science for showing me that. I would not know how to live without it. And I just pray that others can know about this beautiful, beautiful science that allows us to live so richly and moment by moment in God. When I was searching the churches to come here tonight, I was just so grateful. So grateful that you have this service open. I didn't even think, I can do it online. No, I want to be here. Thank you for having me here tonight. Thank you for our precious science, and thank you for taking the effort to read and prepare, which takes a lot of effort, and I thank you for that. I'm very blessed by your readings tonight. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you. Thank you all for your testimonies and your prayers and support at this meeting. Let's conclude with singing hymn number 39. I'll read the entire poem. Come, gracious Spirit, heavenly love, with light and comfort from above. Be thou our guardian, thou our guide, o'er every thought and step preside. The light of truth to us display, that we may know and choose thy way. Plant holy joy in every heart, that we from thee may never part, may ne'er depart. Lead us, O Christ, thou living way, nor let us from thy precepts stray. Lead us to God, our heavenly rest, that we may be forever blessed. Number 39.